Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a story where, well, pop culture meets public health in this really unexpected and genuinely powerful way. We're talking about a hip-hop song, one that didn't just, top the charts, but arguably actually changed the path for hundreds of people. Our mission for this deep dive, it's to unpack a really rigorous study. It's from the BMJ, the British Medical Journal, and it meticulously tracked this song's real-world impact on suicide prevention. I think by the end of our conversation, you'll probably have one of those aha moments, really, about how art can quite literally save lives.
Oh, it's a truly remarkable case. And what's so fascinating, I think, is that this wasn't just, stories or anecdotes. The study used something called an interrupted time series analysis.
Wait, what does that mean exactly in simple terms?
Well, basically, it's a powerful statistical technique. It lets researchers look at a really long stretch of data, say daily call volumes over years, and then pinpoint if a specific event, like Logic's song getting popular, caused a real, measurable, sustained change.
Ah, okay, so not just a blip.
Exactly. It helps them say, look, this probably wasn't just coincidence. And it let them assess changes in daily calls to the U.S. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
Yeah.
And this is crucial in actual suicide rates during times when the song was getting a lot of public attention.
Right, and to really get why this study is so, well, genius, really.
Yeah.
We probably need to understand a bit about how media influences mental health already. There are a couple of ideas here, right?
Yes, two key concepts.
Okay, so first there's the Werther effect. Maybe you've heard of it. It's this well-documented and frankly tragic thing where lots of media reporting on suicides, especially celebrity ones, it seems to trigger more suicides.
That's right.
Like some studies show maybe a 13% increase linked to news reports about celebrity deaths. It's a very real and worrying pattern.
And then sort of the opposite of that, we have what's called the Papageno effect.
Papageno, like the character from Mozart's opera.
Exactly. It refers to the potential protective effects of media stories. Stories that show hope, show recovery from suicidal crises. Now, most studies on this effect, they've been more experimental, maybe looking at suicidal thoughts as the outcome. Actual hard evidence on suicide deaths has been, well, pretty limited until recently.
So that's a really important difference then. And Logic's song, it kind of became this perfect real-world test case for the Papageno effect, didn't it? It just landed in researchers' laps almost.
Absolutely. It was this unique opportunity to see if hopeful messaging could have that protective effect, but, out there in the real world on a huge scale.
All right, so let's talk about the song itself, 1-800-273-8255. What made it stand out so much?
Well, first off, it came out April 28, 2017, and the title is the U.S. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline Number. That's pretty direct, right?
Yeah, you can't miss it.
And the story in the song is just, it's powerful. It follows someone calling the lifeline, say they don't want to live anymore, but then
Yeah.
finding this turning point, finding hope through talking with a counselor. It's very raw.
And then there was the music video, too, which added another layer. Came out a few months later, August 2017. And the views are just massive, right? Over 419 million on YouTube now.
Incredible reach.
Yeah, and it shows a young black man. He's struggling with discrimination, bullying because he's gay. And he makes that call. He calls Lifeline and gets through the crisis. It's really moving, and I imagine very relatable for a lot of people.
And the impact was just huge. People started calling it the suicide prevention anthem. It hit the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100, even got up to number 3 in September 2017.
Wow, number 3.
Yeah. And by late 2020, it had over 1 billion streams on Spotify.
Yeah.
Plus, Google searches for the Lifeline, they jumped nearly 10% in the first month after the song came out. So this really was like the broadest, most sustained suicide prevention message linked directly to a story of hope and recovery probably ever anywhere. For research, it was, like you said, almost a serendipitous event, just this amazing chance to study the Papageno effect unfolding.
Okay, so you have this massive cultural thing happening. How did the researchers actually measure its reach? How did they track public attention? Tweets?
Exactly. That's where the study gets really clever. They analyze social media data, specifically over 81,900 original tweets from more than 55,000 unique users in the U.S. All the tweets contained Logic and the Lifeline number, 1-800-273-8255. And they looked at the period from March 2017 to April 2018.
That's a lot of tweets.
It is. And it let them pinpoint 3 main spikes in public attention. First, the song's release, April 28, 2017. Second, Logic's performance at the MTV Video Music Awards, the VMAs, late August 2017. That reached about 5.4 million viewers. And third, his performance at the Grammys, January 28, 2018.
Okay, so those were the key moments of high visibility. And then to see the actual effect, they got daily Lifeline call numbers and, importantly, national suicide data, going way back to 2010, right, up to the end of 2018.
That's right, long period.
And they use statistical models to compare the before and after for those key events. But hang on, lots of other things happen in the world. How did they make sure it was the song having the effect?
That's a critical point. The analysis specifically controlled for other big events that might have confused the picture. Things like the release of that Netflix show, 13 Reasons Why, which actually other studies link to an increase in suicides among young people, 10 to 19-year-olds.
Right, I remember the controversy around that show.
Exactly. And also, tragically, the suicides of several well-known celebrities around that time. Chris Cornell, Kate Spade, Anthony Bourdain, Chester Bennington, Avicii. These events, they also generated a lot of public discussion about mental health. So the researchers really worked hard to statistically isolate Logic's song's impact from all these other confounding factors.
Okay, right. So they did all this careful work. Let's get to the results, the core findings. In that 34-day period, right after there's three big attention spikes, the release, the VMAs, the Grammys, what happened with calls to the Lifeline? Did more people call?
Yes, significantly more. During those periods combined, the Lifeline got an excess of 9,915 calls.
Wow, over 9,000 extra calls.
Yeah, that's a 6.9% increase compared to what they would have expected based on the patterns before. And interestingly, the biggest jump in calls was right after the MTV Video Music Awards performance, which lines up perfectly with when public attention, measured by tweets, was highest.
Okay, so calls went up, people reached out. That makes sense. But
Yeah.
the really big question, the one that matters most, I guess, did it actually affect the number of suicides?
And this is where the findings become truly profound. In that same 34-day window following those three events, there was a reduction of 245 suicides.
Wait, say that again? A reduction.
A reduction. 245 fewer suicides than expected. That's a 5.5% decrease below the predicted number for that period. So you see this incredible combination of a big jump in help seeking, measured by calls, and a measurable drop in deaths by suicide. And what's really interesting statistically, while you could see dips after each event, the result became clearly significant when they combined the data across all three peaks. It really points to the power of that sustained attention.
Wow. So this really is solid evidence for that Papageno effect then. In the real world, what does this mean for, suicide prevention strategies going forward?
Precisely. It's probably the strongest real-world population-level evidence we have for the Papageno effect working. It takes it out of the lab, and it really highlights that contrast with the Werther effect. Before this, when Lifeline calls spiked, it was often linked to tragic news, like a celebrity suicide. And in those cases, sadly, both calls and suicides often went up.
Right, a double-edged sword.
Exactly. But Logic's song showed something different. Calls went up, but suicides went down. It proves, really, that you can encourage help-seeking without relying on negative or tragic news. You can do it with messages of hope. That's a huge takeaway for public health.
That is a huge takeaway. And thinking about exposure, the study mentioned tweet volumes, right? Logic Song got around 82,000 tweets over that year or so. How does that compare to something like, say, World Suicide Prevention Day?
Yeah, good question. World Suicide Prevention Day in 2020 got around 94,000 tweets. So similar total volume, roughly. But the key difference, as you mentioned earlier, was the timing. Logic's song had multiple peaks of attention spread out thanks to the release, the VMAs, the Grammys. It was sustained over time across different events and audiences. World Suicide Prevention Day is mostly concentrated on, one day.
So that sustained, varied exposure might be really important.
It likely played a big role. But we also have to be realistic. Despite the song's amazing reach, some other media events generated even more online buzz, like 13 Reasons Why that had something like 870,000 unique users tweeting about it. Much bigger exposure, unfortunately in that case, linked to potential harm. It just underscores the challenge. We need more widespread, powerful, positive messaging to really compete with potentially harmful narratives out there.
And we should probably mention, like any study, this one had its strengths but also limitations, right?
Absolutely. Strengths were definitely the long time frame, using daily data, controlling for those confounding factors we talked about, using objective social media data. That was all very solid. But limitations, it's observational. So you can show a strong association, but you can't definitively prove cause and effect for any single individual. They also didn't have demographic data on who was calling, or sadly who died by suicide, to see if it matched the song's audience. And it mostly looked at the short-term impact. Plus, Twitter isn't everybody. It's just a proxy for public attention.
Right. Important context. Okay, so let's bring it all home. The powerful conclusion, the thing for you listening to really take away from this deep dive. Logic Song 1-800-273-8255 wasn't just a hit song. It was associated with a clear, measurable increase in calls for help and, crucially at the same time, a measurable reduction in suicides, over 200 fewer deaths than expected. That's incredibly
It
significant.
really is. And if you step back and look at the bigger picture, it just shouts about the potential public health benefits when you get these maybe unexpected collaborations going. Public health working with the music industry, with entertainment, it shows creative partnerships can have profound positive effects on a population level.
Yeah. The core message for you today is just crystal clear, isn't it? Stories of hope, stories of recovery, when they get out there, when they resonate widely, they can genuinely change behavior. They can increase help seeking. They can literally save lives. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What other kinds of unexpected partnerships could create these kinds of measurable benefits in public health? And maybe how can we, all of us, help amplify those positive stories?